much. Good afternoon, members of the BPRC, Chair Senator Miller and Rep. Felipe, as well as all the others who I can see. Mine is a simple request. I'm confused, to be completely honest with you. You might be confused by seeing me out of my uniform with a bow tie, but I accept that as a Black person, we have to be twice as good. And the question that our children often want to know is, what happens when we are and we still lose? We have to teach our children to spend generations of experiences to get them to pledge allegiance to a country that doesn't always hold to its promises. So the confusion for me is, how does the number one scored charter school, Capital Prep Middletown, have its funding pulled at 11:48 p.m. and the number two school is funded? It clearly is not an issue of funding, despite being unanimously approved by the State Department of Education, even though there was some scuttlebug in that place where we were removed from the agenda and put back on the agenda. We were approved at a unanimous. So it's not about the approval of the state. And Commissioner Russell Tucker referred to the support that Capital Prep Middletown received as historic. She said it was the greatest that had been seen in the state's history. So the reason why the money was pulled at 11:48 had nothing at all to do with support. I'm from Middletown, those who know. Born on my 16th birthday, third generation in poverty, public housing where I spent my childhood and young adulthood. When we opened our first school in Hartford in 2005, from that day forward, Middletown's residents made it clear that they wanted to bring Capital Prep home. It was born in Middletown. They felt it should come home to Middletown. So it wasn't about community support. And it's not about performance. Capital Prep is the number one dual enrolled school in the state, number one for graduating Black students, number one for sending kids to four-year college, number one. It's not our performance that got the money taken out in the middle of the night like a thief. Capital Prep was founded by Black and Latin people in our community, for our community, by our community. As I spent the day watching you do your work and listening to people promise to increase the number of African Americans who participate, we start at the top. In our lowest year, we were number 4 in the state. And at our highest year, number 1 in terms of the number of Black and Latin people we hire. So ours is a simple request. Help me finish up this confusion. Please put the money back in that we earned by being among the top performing schools in the United States of America. Mine is simple, sir.
Well, I appreciate you coming before us and talking about that. Some of us who had conversation with you at some time or another were a little disappointed, didn't have a full understanding, and that is something that some of us will be trying to have further communication with you about, especially myself. So I look forward to that conversation. And I see Senator Miller's hand up. Senator Miller, you have the floor.
There. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, Dr. Perry. Happy New Year's to you.
Thank you,
Dr. Perry, you had stated that the number 2 school was funded. Can you tell us which school that was, please?
The one in New Haven.
Oh, New Haven. And do you remember the name?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the name.
All right. I was just interested. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any other questions for Dr. Perry? Representative Felipe?
No, I just wanted to make sure that I got on here and simply said thank you. Obviously, Capital Prep Harbor is here in the heart of the 130th District, and you guys do a tremendous job. I was happy to speak at your renewal hearing recently, and all the work that you and your team do really make it so that a lot of these children that grow up in these communities that feel like we don't have options, at least when I was growing up, we felt like we didn't have options, now feel like they're going to go and take on the four-year college system and really make a difference, really come back and contribute to their community. So I want to thank you for what you're doing for our kids and subsequently what they're going to come back and do for Bridgeport, where they grew up and where they learn these values. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Felipe. Our children are really the whole story. And to be very frank, one of the hardest parts about this experience that we've had is trying to explain to children who went up to Middletown to advocate for children they may never meet, that while they won, they lost. It is a very uncomfortable conversation to explain to Black and Latin children that you can be the absolute best and still have it stolen from
you. Thank you, Representative Felipe. Dr. Perry, something that I hope to meet with you and get some information on, and I know we had conversation through text, is teacher certification. That is a huge thing that we really want to see happen. And I know that you had talked about it being at a low cost, if not free. So that is something that we really want to have an understanding of. So hopefully in a not so distant future, we can have you back before the BPRC. I would like to also come and visit your school, but I just wanted to, make that statement so other members understand that there is a possible way for teacher certification to get some of our workers certified.
Representative Nolan, there absolutely is. And in fact, what we see often is that many of the people who are running the schools are paraprofessionals and other brothers and sisters who are typically African-American and Latin, who are security officers, many of whom have bachelor's degree. They coach there, they do everything else. The certification process can be changed and must be changed immediately. We are dried up as far as options. The limited access that we have to faculty cannot be overstated. Like it's really bad out here. It's really bad. And there are so many people in churches and mosques and synagogues and other places coaching youth football or who are doing after school program and fraternities and sororities who would teach. Like they would teach if they didn't have to go all the way back to get a bachelor's degree, even though they already have one, or to spend, in some cases, $250,000 to $300,000. And there are routes to certification that are clear, easy, and free, period. Because some of the programs that have been brought forward may not cost the individual money, but it does cost money. These are apprenticeship programs where we could hire someone who could come work in our school. They work underneath someone, and then they would go through the process. The school would take on the responsibility of doing that, and then at the end of that time, they would submit the equivalent of a portfolio, which is the same thing that's already legally in place, and then they could become certified. So I would love to have that conversation. Our commitment is beyond just opening Capital Prep, but really to the state as a whole, as an educational resource. We're in.
Well, I thank you very much for coming before us. Wishing you a good day until we meet again. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And
thank you, Dr. Perry.
Thank you.
Coming before us next will be the Commissioner of Department